Joseph Murphy worked for decades that monetary prosperity is not determined by chance, but the result of the dominant vibration that each person creates in their inner world. When Murphy observed families that lived with persistent financial problems, he identified a surprising and alarming pattern. These families transported, without perceiving it, an energetic atmosphere of insufficiency that maintained itself through successive generations, like a scratched record playing indefinitely the same pattern of limitation. Murphy identified this pattern as energetic inheritance. He discovered that each family possesses a specific vibration connected to finances, a resonance that is transmitted through actions, silent beliefs and reactions of the heart regarding financial obstacles. This ancestral energy acts like an invisible mechanism, determining not only how much money someone can save, but as well as their primordial connection with plenty. Murphy realized that several of the monetary impediments that he identified did not originate in lack of capacity or negative chance, but merely in the received pattern that someone assimilated since birth. This understanding fully revolutionized the mode by which Murphy treated economic metamorphosis. Preferring not to transmit simply profit strategies or investment techniques, Murphy dedicated himself to something fundamental, changing the vibrational frequency about money that someone assimilated from their lineage. Murphy described surprising experiences of individuals who managed to overcome this transmitted frequency, using specific methods of subconscious reprogramming. One of these cases involved a businessman known as Roberto, whose family traversed a persistent cycle of bankruptcy that lasted through generations. His male ancestor had suffered the loss of all his patrimony in a failed speculation. His father figure had lived through bankrupt businesses, and Roberto, although dedicating himself to work obsessively, encountered himself recreating this same destructive cycle. Every time he was able to collect some significant amount of capital, an occurrence manifested mysteriously, and the subject saw everything vanish. It gave the impression that an invisible force was an invisible agency harming his voluntary efforts. Murphy dedicated himself to training Roberto for months, revealing to him an essential truth that would represent the core in his complete doctrine. The subconscious psyche does not differentiate between wealth you earned and money your lineage believes it deserves. If in your inner self exists the pattern that money brings risk, that growing financially is risky, that financial security is illusory or misleading, in this way your unconscious will act permanently to conserve you in this pattern, since it constitutes the real fact. The deep mind does not doubt. It only executes the instructions that were implanted in your consciousness through family history. Roberto finally understood that he was not lazy or inept. He was molded, and mental patterns can be reconfigured. Murphy clarified that when you transform the preponderant frequency in your being, you change the directive that you emit to your subconscious. It is similar to restoring a computer that was running with aged software which is dysfunctional. If the code stays established, capacitated to receive uniquely a particular amount of capital, then that is exactly what you will earn, apart from how much sacrifice you make. Murphy showed this mechanism using meditative visualization approaches that he had instituted for many years. He instructed his clients to expend approximately 5 to 10 minutes daily in the morning, ideally immediately upon waking when the mind is still in a permeable alpha state, imagining not merely the entry of capital in their lives, but primarily the internal sensation of stability, genuine confidence, and dignity that accompanies this arrival. Murphy insisted absolutely that this sensation constituted the authentic key. It was not the money in itself that was essential for the metamorphosis. It represented the resonance that the person created regarding wealth. With Roberto, Murphy started a process that he called Ancestral Vibrational Transmutation, a practice that he had refined through numerous cases of success. Roberto would need to, for 8 weeks, spend 15 minutes daily at night at bedtime in deep meditation. In this special moment, Roberto should perceive with total clarity the entire financial legacy of his family tree. He should bring to mind his close ancestor going through the economic disaster, his parent facing failed businesses, and all this ancestral lineage who came in his lineage taking like patterns. Then, on the mental plane, Roberto should say with authentic emotion, "I recognize your history. I acknowledge with devotion the pain you carried. I recognize the importance of your journey and the difficulties you faced. However, now, in this sacred moment, I liberate this resonance of scarcity from my consciousness. I establish a new resonance for our lineage. From this moment on in my life, movement of wealth, abundance and economic security represent the central pattern that governs my decisions and my personal universe. Murphy observed meticulously that when Roberto did this with genuine sincerity, with true emotional feeling that involved his whole being, something extraordinary began to happen in the external world. Roberto's financial situations began to reorganize subtly, but surely. An opportunity that Roberto would have previously rejected out of fear or mistrust came to be seen under a new illuminated perspective. An old client returned with a substantial project. An unexpected scholarship for his daughter appeared at the exact moment when her education was a financial concern. None of this was coincidence, Murphy explained with conviction. It was simply the natural and inevitable consequence of an altered vibration. When you change your internal vibration, the entire universe needs to reorganize itself to correspond to this new frequency you have established. People, opportunities, resources, everything begins to align differently in your life. Murphy established a concept that he called Law of Vibrational Correspondence, a principle that he had proven in hundreds of cases. This principle sustains that the external circumstances always corresponds exactly to the dominant internal world. If inside you there exists with genuine dread of economic insufficiency, then the exterior reality will manifest permanently, moments that reinforce this terror and validate your limiting conviction. If in your interior you resonate genuine security in your natural wealth, then the external world will manifest perspectives that nourish and increase this faith. The most transformative trait of this principle is that it acts apart from your present position or your antecedents. An individual totally indebted who alters their vibrational state to abundance will give start, in a matter of weeks, to notice slight transformations that are visible. These alterations are always subtle at the beginning, but are indicators of a genuine transmutation. An unlikely expense is impeded because you decide to avoid making an impulsive purchase. A possibility emerges because you were in better mental state to dialogue with a key individual. Your physical totality commences to oscillate in a new pattern. Murphy had a special interest in the family aspect of this transformation because he had observed an extraordinary phenomenon repeatedly. When a person changes their vibration and manages to maintain this change for a sufficient period, the entire family dynamic begins to reorganize deeply. Children who were struggling financially begin to prosper unexpectedly. Parents who faced chronic difficulties find new solutions and paths. It is as if this person, by raising their own vibration, pulled the entire lineage to a new vibrational level. Murphy explained this as a principle of family resonance. When a musical instrument begins to vibrate at a specific frequency, all other nearby instruments naturally begin to vibrate at the same frequency, even without physical contact. Likewise, when you establish a vibration of prosperity within you, all those energetically linked to you naturally begin to enter into resonance with this elevated frequency you created. To establish this alteration of frequency that was permanent and radical, Murphy created a process divided into 3 phases that he viewed as completely indispensable for real transformation. The first stage is what Murphy identified as conscious ancestral recognition, and he reiterated that it was impossible to progress without realizing authentically this first stage. In this stage, you must commit time truly welcoming the entire financial path of your family. This does not signify blaming your ancestors or rejecting them with negative emotion. It signifies uniquely understanding with crystal clarity what they endured, the intense pains that they endured, the patterns that they formed as a survival strategy in periods of difficulty. Murphy identified that various beings sought to pretend to ignore this disturbing legacy, tried to pretend it did not exist, and this prevented permanently the real transformation. It stays absolutely impossible to liberate oneself from something you refuse consciously to admit. Murphy taught his students to start this simple technique, which is transformative. At night, if possible when preparing to sleep when the psyche is more open, sit in silence, in total silence. Inhale and exhale consciously multiple times, and internally meditate deeply on your ancestors. Visualize the figures of those who preceded you. Admit the obstacles that they endured. Pronounce internally with sincerity a declaration like, "I admit that you, my male ancestor, endured immeasurable losses that originated intense dread in your consciousness. I welcome that you, my progenitor, created survival mechanisms that were shared ahead from generation to generation." Murphy explained that this recognition is deeply healing on a spiritual and psychological level. By recognizing the story, you take this story out of the unconscious, where it operates silently controlling your actions, and bring it to the full light of consciousness. In this clear light, it loses the power to control you automatically. It ceases to be something that controls you like a puppet and becomes something you see with absolute clarity and can choose to transform. Murphy used to say with emphasis that nothing that remains unconscious can be truly transformed. Everything that is brought to consciousness can be worked on, can be dissolved, can be rewritten in a completely different way. This first stage should be practiced for at least 2 weeks every day with genuine emotion and complete attention. The second stage of Murphy's method is what he called declared vibrational disconnection, and he was absolutely clear about its critical importance. In this stage, after consciously recognizing the ancestral story, you must declare with authority that this vibration of limitation will no longer be the dominant force of your life. Murphy was not in favor of a vague or intellectual approach in this stage. He demanded genuine emotion, clear intention, and deep commitment, not just to the words but to real transformation. After recognition, still in your moment of silence at night, Murphy instructed his clients to place their hand over their heart and say with unshakable emotional firmness, "I completely release the vibration of scarcity that was inherited through generations. I unlink my conscious mind from every pattern of financial limitation that belonged to my ancestors. I allow my soul to be the genuine and true origin of my prosperity and abundance. From this moment, the dominant vibration I establish and maintain is that of conscious abundance, genuine confidence, and unlimited flow." Murphy instructed that this affirmation works since it creates a new dominion inside you. You are not rejecting your ancestors or your past. You are merely expressing your legitimate right as a knowing entity who is independent to select a distinct pattern. Murphy had recorded numerous cases documented where this proclamation, when expressed with true emotional sincerity, engendered a frequency interruption so powerful and radical that visible modifications started in days following. He maintained documented instances where people shared extraordinarily clear dreams and extraordinary dreams moments after the confession. Dreams during which their ancestors appeared to confirm this transformation with silent acquiescence and energetic approval. Notwithstanding, Murphy revealed himself a methodical researcher who was rigorous in his general methodology. He recognized that there prevailed occurrences that went beyond strictly material reason and cerebral logic. The third stage is the one Murphy considered absolutely the heart and soul of the entire vibrational transformation. He called it continuous vibrational re-establishment, and it was in this stage that the real work of rewriting your financial reality happened. In this stage, you not only dissolve the old problematic vibration, but actively establish a new vibration that becomes your dominant pattern. Murphy was extremely specific and precise about how to do this to achieve real results. After the declaration of disconnection, still in their deep and receptive meditative state, Murphy instructed his clients to visualize a field of golden, luminous, and living energy completely enveloping their heart, radiating to their entire body. This field is not vague or abstract. It is real, intensely felt in the body, palpable like a transforming physical presence. Murphy frequently asked his clients to describe in precise detail how this golden field felt in their physical body. Some described gentle and comforting heat. Others described deep and enveloping safety. Still others described an extraordinary sensation of expansion and freedom. While he kept this vivid visualization and perceived, Murphy directed with authority, "Say mentally with total certainty, My preponderant frequency now establishes itself as abundant consciousness. My physical being resonates completely with economic confidence. My hidden psyche remains fully reconditioned, capacitated to receive in an ample way, to deserve fully, and to maintain permanently abundance. My energy establishes itself harmonized perfectly, with perspective, unlimited flow, and unlimited growth. The scarcity that was bequeathed disappeared totally permanently. The opulence that is my innate spiritual right installs itself now as the permanent reality of my being. Murphy underlined indisputably that these sentences must be enunciated not superficially out of habit or lightly, but with genuine deep emotion, with truth that springs from the chest, as if you existed proclaiming the most vital affirmation and primordial of your total being. Murphy observed that this third stage is exactly where most people faced significant difficulties in the process. They managed to do the first two stages with some success, but in the third stage, the rational mind began to doubt and question. How can I say I am prosperous if I have significant debts? How can I say my vibration is abundance if my bank account tells another story of limitation? How can I declare what only my current reality denies? Murphy had a clear and transformative answer for this. He explained that the rational mind does not govern true reality. Vibration governs reality. The rational mind is merely a tool that describes retroactively what vibration has already created. If you want to change what the rational mind describes, you must first change the vibration at the root. Murphy used a potent and transformative metaphor. He said that vibration is like the root of a tree, and visible financial results are like the branches, leaves, and flowers. If you only look at the visible branches and try to change the tree by pruning the branches, you will never achieve real or lasting change. But if you change the fundamental root, the whole tree changes inevitably. Murphy suggested that this third stage be realized each day without interruptions for 40 days at minimum consecutive. He had designated the duration of 40 days, given that he had noted in multiple cases that it was precisely the necessary time for a new vibrational pattern to consolidate itself integrally as the dominant pattern in the core of the hidden psyche. The initial period of 14 days are focused on rooting and fixation of the transformed energy. The new vibrational pattern still feels weak and provisional. It still fights powerfully with the old vibrations that fight to continue. Between days 15 and 28, something deeply modifies and unlocks itself. The new vibration gives start slowly to conquer authentic vigor, to perceive more organic and legitimate, more essential to your deep essence. In the period of 29 to 40 days, the new frequency finally establishes itself as the prevailing pattern that governs your choices. Upon completing 40 days of consistent practice and heartfelt practice, Murphy observed that those who sought him reported an emotional evolution so significant that it was observable even to those outside. The terror that paralyzes concerning money reduced considerably until dissipating. The guilt of prospering and receiving extinguished itself totally. A confidence which was restful, genuine, and unshakable in the financial future began to emerge fluidly from your interior. Murphy had a particular and very effective method to help his clients maintain absolute consistency during these critical 40 days. He recommended they keep a simple and honest journal. Each night, after completing the full ritual of the 3 stages, they should briefly note what they felt and observed, not for heavy intellectual analysis, but simply to deepen the experience and root it. Murphy observed that when people recorded their experience in words, the practice became more concrete, more real, more irrefutable. He also recommended that during these 40 days of transformation, people be particularly attentive to the small signs of change that appeared. A small but significant opportunity that arose unexpectedly, an unexpected expense that was providentially avoided, a casual conversation with someone that led to an interesting and unexpected possibility. Murphy taught that vibrational change does not typically begin with spectacular and dramatic results. It begins, always, with small synchronicities indicating that vibration is genuinely changing at the deepest level. Murphy accentuated a critical element that many disregarded entirely when executing. During these 40 days of disciplined practice, the practical actions equally keep fundamental weight. The frequency prepares the adequate soil, however you continue needing to possess the valor in acting. If an opening appears in your path, you require to possess the determination to explore it genuinely. If an inspiration surges about how to raise your earnings or to multiply your inputs, you require to be willing to implement it with firmness. Murphy referred to this as aligned action, and it showed itself absolutely critical. It constitutes the action that surges fluidly once your resonance has altered to fullness. This attitude reveals itself deeply different from the desperate act based in terror. It is act that is resolute, clear, intuitive, and accurate. Murphy recognized that once his clients preserved the correct vibration and proceeded systematically in alignment with this vibrational pattern, the possibilities surged in ways that previously appeared completely impractical or almost miraculous. The trajectory that the Master Murphy provided was substantially a path of genuine emancipation and genuine. It was not dodging from concrete difficulties. It signified meeting the concrete reality that you were structured by inherited vibrational pattern and deciding with full consciousness and with strength to modify this resonance fully. It characterized itself as accepting that you have exceptional potency not merely to modify your own living, but to alter the entire trajectory and coming destiny of all your family heritage. This recognition forms true power in its purest expression, not the power uniquely to dominate or to subjugate opponents. Nevertheless, the authentic power to transcend, to modify vibrational pattern, to transcend ancestral restrictions. This knowledge, Murphy professed with unbreakable conviction, represents the true liberation which is economic and sacred that every soul pursues.